Look, I want to move now on to a story that is kind of all wrapped up. It's several stories, but they're all wrapped up in the same ball of wax. And I want to start by playing a wonderful little clip that all credit to Bob McCroskey from Family First. He put this out on the internet, and there's a phrase you would have been from the mainstream media and from a whole lot of political people hearing a lot of lately. Here it is.
That poisonous transphobic hate and imported culture wars.
Do not get sucked in by this imported culture war.
Labor's focus in this election won't be on imported culture wars.
So much of the time in this House is consumed by members of the coalition importing culture wars.
I'm not interested in importing cultural wars into New Zealand.
How can a country that claims to treat everyone equally stand by while our rainbow communities are targeted by imported foreign culture wars?
Winston Peters is vowing to fight on over a Green MP's social media account. His rhetoric is being labelled by the Greens as a coordinated imported culture war.
There is no wonder that every other day we've got a new form of distraction politics from members of this government with their latest imported culture woke wars or whatever it is.
We have a choice as members of Parliament to reject this imported culture war of hate and division.
This is Aotearoa. We do not want imported culture wars.
Yes, that term, imported culture wars. It is everywhere. The Prime Minister's using it. Chris Bishop is using it. The Greens are using it ad infinitum. The media, the mainstream media are using it. Supposedly, what we're seeing in the discussion about woke rubbish is an imported culture war. Let's just talk about the hypocrisy of that, particularly from the Greens. The Greens who dress up as terrorists and talk about a real war being waged literally on the other side of the world. What of that? And they chant from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free. And some of them do it, my God, on Anzac Day. What's that if it's not an imported culture war? And I think any New Zealander who stands up for what they think is right and believe is right, I don't think they're importing anything. I think they're standing for their own values, for values that say, for example, and geez, I'm getting some texts on this, values that say the country's called New Zealand. And why is it that every dawn service seemed to use the word Aotearoa instead? So you're going to hear a lot about imported culture wars. It's clearly been chosen by our woke mainstream news media, our woke Prime Minister, our woke opposition, our woke Green Party, as the way to discredit and shut up people who are starting to make some very important points about what is going on in this country. And there's nothing imported about the culture war that is going on. This is a battle for the hearts and minds of New Zealand, and there's nothing imported about it. I suspect the reason the Greens are screaming imported culture war so loud is that they're starting to lose it. And one of the things they are doing, and you heard this here first, though you'll already start to see articles about it in Newsroom, The Listener, Stuff, Radio New Zealand. I'm sure Jack Tame will do an interview on it soon on Television New Zealand. The idea that we need to change our democracy. The idea we can have what's called consultative democracy, where a small group of citizens get picked or somehow randomly selected, and they sit down and talk about an issue, and that's how we decide what we are going to do. It's a new kind of democracy that allows the right chosen people to make decisions that are properly woke. It is nothing but a Marxist crock. And when I look at the academics and the organisations running stories about the representative democracy or consultative democracy, I know exactly what is going on. I am warning you all now to be very, very careful of this idea. Having failed to introduce hate speech laws, which would have limited the ability of their political opponents to speak freely and act properly in a democracy. The left and the Marxists, the cultural Marxists, are now thinking, let's just change democracy entirely. Let's get rid of one person, one vote. And let's have special little groups of people that we, without you seeing, will choose, deciding to do things, or that society should do things that we agree with. So I've seen now 3 articles about that I wanted to warn you about. I can see when the media is getting together to run a campaign. And talking of that, who was the person I wanted to... well, there were 2 people I would have loved to interview right now on the show. Anna Leask, who is a reporter from the Herald, who continues to write the most ridiculous and I'd say defamatory stories about Hamish Campbell, a National MP, and the 2x2 religious group. We have freedom of association in New Zealand. We have freedom of religion. 2x2 is a Christian group, operates here, I think, in America. And I don't know much about them, and I don't care. They've never done anything to me. But Anna Leask, a journalist who, I think over a decade ago, published a story about a woman who supposedly was becoming an international legal superstar, having grown up in a life of poverty as the child of a mongrel mob leader. And Anna Leask did this amazing story about this young wahine who did it really well, until everyone found out, didn't they, Anna Leask, that the entire story was bullshit. And the woman you wrote about was a con artist. But you haven't talked that, haven't let that hold back your career, have you, Anna Leask? Because now you're writing not about Benjamin Bussy Doyle, but you are producing piece after piece after piece on a group called 2x2 that a National Party member happens to be part of. You have proven no link between that National Party member and any alleged wrongdoing by anyone else in the so-called sect. But gosh, Anna Leask, I guess you and your mates at the Herald think as long as we're not talking about Benjamin Doyle, then we're okay. I've reached out to Anna Leask. I got an automatic email reply. I'll have you on the program anytime, Anna, so you can explain the weird editorial policies of the Herald and why you think that's anything approaching journalism.